It is the music in your heart. Ah, there they are.
Yes! We stalled for you by doing nothing.
We're the best.
I ordered Cracker Barrel.
I'm sorry, hold on. Ordered Cracker Barrel?
Yes.
Cracker Barrel delivers?
No, DoorDash delivers. Cracker Barrel hands them the food. Because DoorDash screwed up my order last night.
What did you order last night?
5 White Castles with no pickles, a 20 sack of rings, and a sack of onion chips.
And you did not get that food?
I got the chicken rings.
Then I might survive. Thank God.
I got somebody else's 10 cheeseburgers and 2 sacks of fries.
Did you eat the 10 cheeseburgers?
No, I'm lactose intolerant.
I get to live. Wait, oh, right. Yeah, I'm aware that you're lactose intolerant.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
This is your con, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, both and neither, welcome to Convention War Stories. I'd like to introduce our panelists. First up, the convention chairman of IFC on the board of directors at multiple conventions. Let's give it up for Lord Panelist. He is the master of ceremonies of Basement Con.
Oh, I see. We're just giving me titles now, aren't we?
You assigned me a title and then I stole your company. I win. They are the Master of Ceremonies and Con Chairman of Basement Con. They are legal counsel for conventions that we will not name because we want you to be scared when you do something stupid and get an email from him. Ladies and gentlemen, both and neither, give it up for the Boozy Badger! I run some stuff. My name is Alkali. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. We're here today to give you a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look. This is a very playful look. We're going to tell you some fun stories. Years ago at an event called FCLR, I can't actually remember exactly how
Furry Convention Leadership Roundtable.
Thank you so much.
Speaking of which, you're in that, right?
I am a member of SCLF.
Yeah, you all won't let us join.
I will petition.
Basement Con has reached out. We have been told no.
I will lend IFC's support to Basement Con's application.
It was my understanding that those applications were pretty much rubber stamped once you actually held the event.
So
were there at least 50 attendees at your
Yes, there were.
Well, if you count the snakes.
Oh, if you count the snakes, we were up to 100.
I did enjoy.
I'll try and get you in.
We have proposed to make one of our members, like we're not really sure we want membership, but we'll send you an ambassador.
They will be cloaked.
You're going to send me an actual ambassador?
Yes.
I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing.
Dude, it's going to be a very good thing. Number one, we're pulling up to your house with weird random flags all over the hood of the car, because that's how an ambassador looks. Number two, feed us.
That's not a problem. We can feed you.
This is good. This is working. See,
so long as you don't have like the symbols from one of the houses of Game of Thrones on your car, we'll be fine.
Oh, I can't make promises. How many of you have been to a convention before? You are all lying. I just said, how many of you have been to a convention before? And as you are sitting in a convention, one person raised their hand.
Oh my God! Let's try that again.
Has anyone not been to a con before? No.
How many of you have been to a convention before this one? Raise your hands. There we go.
Yeah,
no, I got you on this one.
I was like, do these people think they're at an insurance conference? What the hell's going on?
Boozy, you've said time and time again, don't answer the questions.
So, how many of you have been to one of these panels before? All right.
Oh boy.
Oh, so we got a lot of new people. That's awesome.
That is wonderful. That means we get to retell some of the stories.
Yeah, you'll know them better than we will. First of all, I want to say convention horror stories don't always include you all. Sometimes they include the panelists and the performers. Like this morning, I got in at 2 a.m. on Thursday. I woke up early yesterday. I ate a lot because I was planning on drinking a lot last night. Did not drink a lot last night. Thanks for that.
You got beer.
I got beer.
You got beer.
Beer. So last night at like 2, I went, well, I'm going to sleep late tomorrow. I don't have anything until 1:30. I'm going to sleep late. I ordered the White Castles that they screwed up. I went to my room. I ate the portion of it they did not screw up. I got a refund for the rest. I went to sleep, right? I woke up, I rolled over, I looked at my clock, it said 10:30. I went, I have 3 hours. I'm going to go back to sleep. I woke up, I rolled over, I looked at my clock, it said 11:30. I said, okay, I guess 2 hours, I should get up, I should start getting ready. I got up, I stretched, I walked over to the coffee maker in the room, I started a cup of coffee, I turned around and I realized that did not say 11. That said 1. At 1:33 this morning, standing naked in my room with coffee brewing, I went, shit, I'm supposed to be in a panel. And out the door I went, then back in the door I went to get my pants. Then out the door I went again downstairs to the panel room where I walked in, threw my coat off and said, I'm sorry, I overslept, I haven't showered, and started the panel.
Nailed it.
That was 1:30 this afternoon, right?
Yes.
Because you said 1:30 this morning, and what panel did you have at 1:30 a.m.? North, what are you doing to our guests?
Advanced trigonometry. Trust me, it goes at 1:30. And
why was I not invited to the math panel?
This is a real one. First Squared years ago, we had a guest of honor who was, I wouldn't say new to the furry fandom, but new to like guest of honor and paneling and programming. They went to conventions, they fursuited, and that's how they had their fun. That's a wonderful way to have a good time. But they weren't really used to like going to a bunch of panels and entertaining people, and they're sitting on a panel with me as we do Q&A. And he looks at me like, yeah, hey, what's this advanced trigonometry panel? And I go horrified, like nothing, no, it's just they're gonna, a bunch of the math guys. So you're just doing a panel with advanced trigonometry? Yeah, don't even worry about it. No one's going to go. At 11:30 at night in the basement of First Squared. And they won't drop it. And I'm trying as hard as I can to downplay this panel. Because this panel was advanced trigonometry because we had given permission to one of our board members to hold a beer pong competition in the basement called Advanced Trigonometry. We're not supposed to be serving our own booze. We're damn sure not supposed to be having a panel that is booze-centric. And now, a room this size, more filled with people than this room, are all very interested in a trigonometry panel happening at 11:30 p.m. in the basement. The attendance for the panel was over 50 people. There are pictures, and thank God, they brought in a whiteboard. And while playing beer pong, did advanced trigonometry on the whiteboard so that the panel was legitimate. I love furries. Thank you.
I love how you are, like, thank you. Because the person who was sitting there announcing to the room, what is this advanced trigonometry panel?
That's right. It wasn't. I thought it was.
It was me.
It was you. You're an
me.
idiot. I was very much trying to get you off the topic. You're cleverer than that.
Afterwards, members of the staff walked up to me, looked me in the eyes, and went, "Fuck you," and walked off.
Hey, we still have advanced trigonometry. First Squared is very good about that. You guys have been there a few times. We love putting little inside jokes into our panels. First year of First Squared, I used to be the con chairman of First Squared. In our very first year, we had incidents. First year convention, we started from scratch. It was really fun. We got to experience the building, the growth. Like this became, myself, my board of directors, the staff, this was our baby. And we were so happy when it came to fruition. And Thursday night, first day as a con chairman, I'm all smiles, and it's 8 o'clock when somebody comes up to me and asks, "Did you approve of the basement rave?" No. Should we shut down the basement rave? No. So I went down into the basement, to like 7 fursuiters with a boombox in a hallway with the lights from our Artemis setup that they had programmed just to flash. And they were being super respectful. They're away from everyone. They're having a basement rave. I'm like, you know what? This is fine. An hour later, there were 30 people in the hallway, in the basement, one of them being a hotel staff member. They loved it. It was a really weird first year. We shared the hotel with a group of, what do you call that? Lacrosse, Christian Lacrosse League, a cheerleading competition, and the Furries. And there was about equal amounts of all of us, so we were all kind of sharing the hotel. The First Squared Hotel, there is some off-the-way panel space, but some of the panel space is just dead center. So there we are, giant group of people standing outside main events. The doors haven't opened for something yet. I'm standing out there, and I see this family, definitely not furries, over in the corner, the mother and the father looking on, but they're 2 very small children playing with the fursuiters. It's adorable. It's everything I love to see. I love seeing the fursuiters entertaining kids like that. I love seeing the community interacting with the outside world. It's so beautiful. And then, my director of operations, my operations liaison, and another board member come walking around the corner about to go to the basement for the leather dog panel. They are wearing leather short shorts, harness, and pup hoods. And the 2 kids look over to them and start to approach. And their mother reaches out, puts her hands on both of the youth's shoulders and says, "No, sweeties. Don't touch those doggies. They're dirty." The very next year, I looked at my convention panel book. 8 p.m. Saturday night, a panel. "Don't touch those dogs, they're dirty. We will never label it the Leather Pup Play panel again, and you will get changed downstairs, assholes."
Oh, and actually, because I love, there are ways to do conventions. And one of the best ones that I see when we're doing these things is the watershed moment. Does anybody know what the watershed is? In communications and broadcasting, it was for a long period of time, it was more in Great Britain than it was in the U.S., but we've always had a watershed hour in the U.S. as well. It was up until this time, broadcast television cannot contain any of these things. After this time, it can contain all of these things. So like you hear people say, you can't have nudity on NBC, right? That's not true. You can, certain types of it, like you can't just like broadcast Debbie Does Dallas on Channel 5. But you can after a certain time. Right? That's actually, God, you're all so young. Who in here remembers NYPD Blue?
Oh, God.
Okay, who remembers Dennis Franz's ass? Who remembers the controversy surrounding NBC showing Dennis Franz's ass on broadcast TV? The response to that was, it was after the watershed. The idea is after a certain time, you kind of watch at your own risk. You know these things can be there. So the kids should be in bed by that point in time. And a lot of cons, First Squared being one of them, follows the watershed rule. It is during the day, everything is family friendly. They're wonderful panels. Nothing's going to be. After about 9 o'clock, maybe read the description. Maybe
it might help.
Maybe look at the description before you go to it. You know, I know that it says balloon party panel, but the 18 plus under it should tell you we're not just blowing up balloons and playing with them. I mean, technically we are.
Where that is moving on.
So last year at First Squared, who is one of the cons that I sometimes provide some counsel to.
Sometimes.
I brought my children. I always bring my children to First Squared. It's a wonderful con for them. And one of my children my 13-year-olds brought their friend to their first ever furry convention. They'd been wanting to go, and we said, you know what, we got one, it's First Squared, we know the people there, you'll love it. So we brought them out. And on Friday morning, I hear my daughter and her friend sitting in the other part of our hotel room, and they're going through the panels, and they are picking what panels they want to go to. And one of them says, I hear it say, oh, a panel about inflatable pool toys we should go to. And I dropped my razor in the sink, leapt out of the bathroom of the hotel room, dove towards them like I'm taking a bullet for the president, going, no! Snatched it off the table, looked at them and said, if it's 18 plus, you don't get to go, so read the panel descriptions, right? Then later that afternoon or later that evening, I had an 18 plus panel. And typically, I will say, during 18 plus panels, are there any kids in the audience? And if my kids are in there, somebody always points to my kids and says, oh, those are my kids, they're used to my shit, it's fine. Well, first of all, kudos to the First Squared security staff, because they saw two people who were not 18 walking into an 18 plus panel, and they stopped them immediately. So kudos to them. And then somebody said, Boozy's my dad, and they came back and I said, no, those are my kids, they're fine, they're actually bringing me something. And they said, oh, okay. And they came in, and my child reached in their pocket and pulled out a flask of whiskey and handed it to me. I trust my kids a lot. And I said, so they stopped you at the door for the whiskey? And my kid goes, oh, no, they stopped us because we were minors. And I said, oh, so you had the whiskey, like, hidden in a backpack or something? Like, oh, no, they saw the flask. And the lawyer part of my brain went into effect, and when this man got to stage, I looked at him and I said, we need to talk. He said, why? I said, the security staff is doing a wonderful job of stopping minors from hearing the word fuck. They are, however, unconcerned about the minors walking around with whiskey. I feel we should call Dragor.
Fair enough. I think they did a good job. Des?
Yes.
Now, you've been con chair and multiple other departments at IFC for quite some time.
I've, volunteer, staff, board by year 3.
Yeah.
Was sponsors liaison, head of programming, head of social media, chair, staff, chair.
All right. You've got to have some stories from during that time. Tell us a story from the convention that we're at.
Ooh, one from Indie FurCon itself. So, those of you who've been to this panel, especially at this convention, several times, you will have heard this story, but the newcomers, they need to hear it. Sometimes, as Alkali said, the convention shares space with other groups. This harkens back to when we were at the Sheraton.
Oh, no.
And similar to how you were sharing with the Christian Lacrosse League or whatever it was,
Yep.
IFC was sharing convention space with a Jewish fraternity convention. Hundreds of frat boys running around the hotel and hundreds of furries running around the hotel. What could go wrong? So it started off small, some little nitpicky comments. People, they're furries, nah. But then it got worse. It got to downright picking on very publicly and not caring. The furries were just trying to hang out, have a good time. We stuck to our convention space, but the elevators are, of course, common space. This is like 20-some story hotel, so big bank of elevators that everyone had to share. It culminated with a bunch of the frat boys on an elevator. Furries waiting for it, doors open. They try to get on. The frat boys were like, no, you shall not enter. What? You can't come on. Wait for the next one. And as the doors close, the phrase was uttered, you ain't Rosa Parks, you ain't getting on this bus.
That is the proper reaction.
which was reported, of course, to security, which caused an instant board meeting to happen with the hotel liaison, the actual representative from the hotel, Tanya.
Oh, Tanya.
I miss Tanya.
I miss
Tanya from the
Tanya
Sheraton.
so much.
Let's just say by the end of the story, she was given her own persona. But anyway, Tanya, a 25-year-old African-American lady, came to ask us what the problem was. And we told her, well, yes, we've been having all these issues, and you ain't Rosa Parks, you ain't getting on this bus. And her reaction was thus. Oh, hell no! You know those scenes from Looney Tunes where, like, the Roadrunners and they are gone in a puff of dust? That was Tanya. She was gone. We were like, no, okay. Within 15 minutes, there were signs everywhere. Emergency meeting all convention fraternity members.
You could say the frat.
The frat boys. All the frat boys. Apparently they had a meeting because there was no more issues in any way, shape, or form of a nitpicking nature. Apparently things got swung. The pendulum swung in the other direction.
That's a pretty hard swing.
For later that night, the night of the very first mistake. Now, at the Sheraton, all the convention space is on the second floor. And then there's a big escalator instead of stairs that you can look down and see the lobby where you enter in the main lobby. And in the main lobby, there's a giant, like, stone table where chargers are set up and people can sit and hang out. And there are a bunch of frat boys sitting at the table, and a bunch of fursuiters went down the stairs to go outside, cool off, or whatever. And they were like, come join us. Have a drink. Okay, seems innocent enough. And the frat boys looked at each other and looked at the fursuiters and started chanting, take it off, take it off, take it off. Take off their fursuit head. Go on, do it. So they did, and they kept drinking. And then the fursuiters went, put them on, put them on, put them on. So the frat boys are wearing the heads of the fursuiters, and the fursuiters are in their body, and you're probably watching the video of this that is on YouTube right now.
Here he comes.
Where are we at the crowd yet? I can't tell. We can monitor here.
AV, when we get to the chant, give us a high sign. Keep going, Des.
So
There it is.
With us tonight. He's happy, he's jolly, he's fucked up by golly. Here's to our Tamers who's with us tonight. So drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink.
So it went to that. The entire lobby filled with furries and fraternity brothers chanting and drinking. Now our head of finance is just wandering out of mistake while the rest of them are getting me up to bed. And they hear from the back, about half the hotel away, what? What is this loud chanting coming from the lobby? And they approach and they get to the little balcony that overlooks, and they see that. And they look across, and there's a little balcony across from them, and the head of the Dorsai is standing there. And Todd goes, and the head of security just looks at them and went, pointing at the hotel staff at the front desk, who were standing, laughing, and taking pictures of everything. And Todd went down and went, should we do something? And the hotel's response was, they're finally getting along. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
I adore that.
The thing is, I came in to the fandom well after that. And the first time one of them told me that story, they got to the chant. And I started doing it. They're like, it went, here's for the pandas, oh, here's for the pandas who's with us tonight. He's happy, he's jolly, he's fucked up by golly, oh, here's for the pandas who's with us tonight. So drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink, motherfucker, drink. And they looked at me and they said, how do you know that? I go, it was a Lambda Chi convention, wasn't it?
Oh my God. Oh, Boozy. Oh, Boozy.
Now, I can never tell this part, but the best part involves an individual who's not here. Dr. Conway, can you tell that part of the story?
Uncle Kage happened to be wandering through the lobby while all this was happening. And the furries, knowing Uncle Kage, pointed him out and started cheering. And the frat boys, loving to be part of a group, started cheering. And they're starting to call him over. Uncle Kage, you need to drink with us. You need to drink. IFC supplies Uncle Kage with a very large wine goblet. Uncle Kage emptied the rest of his bottle of wine into the goblet, stared at the frat boys, upturned it, chugging from the glass, put it down, burped, and said, amateurs, and went to bed. Love that man. Sometimes the rumor mill is what we have to deal with at these conventions. Things happen. We can't always share them with you. Sometimes it's an incident. We don't want to embarrass a person. Sometimes something happened that just genuinely you don't want to know. We're not going to tell you who pulled the fire alarm. You'll beat them up. We're not going to let you do that. We want to beat them up. That's our job. We get that. But the rumor mill can be annoying. We're going to stick to IFC stories.
Is this the one that I think it is?
Yeah, I haven't told this in years. My apologies. I am very rusty on this one. I have not told this in a very long time. We were doing Mistake. Now, Mistake, for those of you who don't know, we've already mentioned a few times, Thursday night at a lot of conventions, I like to run MST3K Mistake. It's a charity panel. Now, we have been working on this panel for years at this point to figure out the best way to run it. And to this day, we still don't have it down pat. We can make it better. But the iteration that we were doing at this point was a few of us at a table looking at the screen and drinking to drinking rules. It took forever to set up. The drinking rules were obscene. And we were getting to the point where every time, like myself, Pandez, we were getting destroyed the Thursday night of a convention.
It was the movie The Faculty.
It was.
And the rule that destroyed us was every time there is water in a scene.
It was, and don't get me wrong, they paid like $500 for that rule. And I had like, they threw that at us. I want to say you were the judge.
I was like, that should be fine.
Yeah, that I don't see any.
I hadn't seen the movie before.
We're not talking about, oh, water. They drink a glass of water. That happened. Raining. Oh, that's water. That happened. Scene in the pool. Okay, let's drink again. Oh my God, a water cooler in the background. I guess let's drink. There's a cup of coffee right there. Let's drink them. Every scene. And we are going worse and worse and worse. And I've been drinking for so long. It's a Thursday night. We've been setting up all day. We're exhausted. And finally, I was like, I need to take a piss. I said nothing to the room. The movie is playing, and I think I got up and probably looked like this. And I went to the pisser. I left the room, looking a little drunk, left, took my piss, walked out to return to the panel, where I found the same gentleman, actually. It was our
Todd.
Director of, it was Todd, standing outside of the room, beat red, sees me, grabs me, goes, go to the 4th floor right now, we need you. We are directors. I imbibe quite a bit. When you run a convention, especially if you have anything where you are going to deal with authorities, one of the things you will magically learn, this is not a skill, this is not an ability, This is your extra point in D&D when you become con chair. If you do that, you immediately have the ability to sober up enough to talk to a cop. Immediately. And it happened. That part of the story doesn't need to be said. We'll just go with, when I arrived on the 4th floor, the convention chairman at the time was sitting on an attendee, the attendee face down, who's just kicking him with his legs, while the convention chairman is just laughing. Do you think that hurts me? You are nothing but a worm. We have light fixtures hanging off the wall. The cops have gone into a room because when they knocked on the door, they heard the toilet flushing non-stop. And that's all you need to know. It gives you an idea of what was going on. This happens. It's a major security event. We have it under control now. Now it's time to talk to the board. All right. We send a representative to go grab Pandez out of the panel. We send a representative to grab another member of the panel. Basically, what the people in the panel saw was somebody come in and grab almost all of the panelists and take them from the room. We finished up what we were doing. We had the meeting. I was exhausted. I went to bed. And the next day, when I woke up and started wandering around the convention, so many people came up to me. Oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. Oh, Alkali, oh, we're so sorry. We'll never do it again. Alkali, oh, we didn't mean to do that. We didn't know there'd be so much water. Alkali, do you need anything? Alkali, how are you awake? What the fuck? I appreciate your concern, but this is a little overboard. And then Des told me the outside story. The story of what the people in that panel room saw. They saw Alkali get up from a table, drunkenly leave the room. I never came back. Security came in, grabbed the entire board of directors, and took them out. And then when the movie ended, they all walked outside and saw 4 ambulances and 3 fire trucks, 2 police cars. They thought I died. They thought they killed me in MST3K because none of us could talk about what had just happened, and the rumor mill had spread to the point where, oh my God, Alkali went to the hospital. That's where it started. There was a tweet that I died. Stop the rumor mill. Don't assume things. It's one of you being the idiots. We're geniuses. We get drunk at home.
The rumor mill is not only for you all, though. The hotels on the rumor mill.
Oh, very much.
I went to a certain convention, and I had a good time at said convention, and I got home from said convention, and I sat at my computer, and the message came in from a very good friend of mine, who at that point was the chairman of said convention. A very good friend of mine with a top hat.
Thanks, Boozy.
Was the convention E-cubed?
Yes, yes. And the email just read, or the message read, dude, could you come back out here in about 2 weeks? We have to meet with the hotel. And I said, well, what's going on? And he said, I'm gonna need you to say yes before I tell you that part. I said, I don't know. He said, I'll buy you steak. I said, sure. He said, check your email. I opened my email. He had sent me the hotel security log, and he had sent me the door size security log. And these were 2 wildly different stories of how the convention went. The door size log showed nothing uncommon. Somebody got drunk and was locked out of their room. We got them back in their room. Somebody had a little too much smokable, and we had to tell them to cut it the fuck out, confiscate it, and dispose of it. That is common. That's normal. Those are the small potatoes of the convention world. The hotel's security log had different stories. The hotel security log had stories like, it was reported to us that a gentleman on the 8th floor had his door open and was laying naked on his bed while 10 other men wearing strap-ons ran a train on him. We went back up later, cleaned the vomit off, and put him to bed and closed the door. It was reported to us on Sunday morning that on Saturday night, a group of the fursuiters were in the lobby of the hotel, forming a crowd around two men who were performing fellatio on each other while the crowd chanted, "Eat the meat, eat the meat," repeatedly. I read through these reports. I sent Alkali one message. It just read, "What the fuck?" And Alkali sent me back my flight confirmation. They were flying me out because the hotel, after sending that over, had requested a meeting with the board of the convention to discuss the contract. And while I am not licensed in that state, I do negotiations as a regular part of my business. They wanted me to come out and kind of grease the wheels on the contract negotiation. So I flew out and I got there. And the night before we had dinner, we talked, we addressed some things. And I said, I've read through their reports, and it seems a lot to me like a lot of this is hearsay. None of these reports say the security guard for the hotel saw it, or a staff member for the, it was reported to us. And there were other groups in the hotel that weekend, one actually being a Christian lacrosse team that had caused problems, so it was very well within the realm of possibility. None of those things happened. And the lacrosse team and their parents, who were not happy that there was a furry convention in the hotel, had decided to make things up and report them to the hotel. They said, "Oh, some of the rooms were trashed." I said, "Well, I know that half the rooms were under renovation while we were there, and I made a point, knowing that I would be asked at some point, of going down my hallway in the sections that were under renovation and pushing on the doors that were under renovation." Why? I represent construction workers and contractors, and you know what they don't do when they have a large thing with automatic locks? They don't let the doors lock because it kills time getting back in the room to do something. They put tape or something over the lock so the door will not automatically lock, and they don't have to keep unlocking a door to do work in the room. And sure enough, every single one of the rooms that were under renovation, the doors had their locks jammed open. So you could just push it open, go in. I said, I tested that. Those rooms were accessible. There were teenagers from a lacrosse team there for a tournament. I think it's probably more likely they did crap in the rooms and it's being blamed on us. So we have that in order. The board leaves Alkali's house. I go to bed. We get up the next morning. We all meet at Alkali's house. Alkali puts us in the car to drive to the convention, and there we are. We get coffee. We're on the road. And I'm going over how it will work. We're going to walk in. We're going to sit down. It's going to be a united front. Please let me start the majority of the talking after that. The way this is going to go is I'm going to first highlight that all these are reports, and second, highlight how ridiculous these reports are. Okay? Come on. Two guys blowing each other in the lobby with everybody screaming, "Eat the meat," in the middle of the night. God, come on. If there was a guy in a room having a train ran on him by 10 other men, who I'm just assuming that this was how they had reported, why would 10 other men need strap-ons, right? At which point, the current con chair, at that point the vice con chair, says, "Well, wearables are a thing." And I say, maybe you don't fucking talk during the meeting. Alkali takes us off-road through a cornfield.
I was dying. I have never laughed that hard while driving an automobile. You almost killed us.
So we get to the meeting, we go down, and when we get there, the hotel's ready. It is the general manager of the hotel, their food and beverage manager, and somebody else. And we go down into the meeting room, and they bring out a binder. A binder. I'm not talking like a little bitty 3-ring, 1-inch. I'm talking a binder. And they flip it open, and there are pictures of destroyed toilets and soiled carpets. And they start talking about, well, here's documentation of all the damage that we've had, and these are the rooms and the room numbers, and I'm letting them go for a while. And then I said, "Do you have a list of the room numbers?" "Well, we can get one." "Do Do you have a list of the people who those rooms were registered under so that we can compare them with our membership list and make sure that these people were actually with our event? Well, we could get, so what I'm hearing is you have a report of pictures you all took after a couple groups checked out of the hotel. You haven't bothered to check whether or not, who was on those rooms, and you haven't provided us with any way to verify that you're even related to our event. So all I'm seeing is a bunch of pictures of trashed hotel rooms that you have no idea who trashed them, so we're not going to consider that. Alkali?
I was so happy. You have no idea how terrified I was going to this meeting. The board of directors has one real job: make sure the convention happens next year. And I got an email from the hotel saying that there were trains in the hotel. I was terrified. And then this man does all this.
So they put the binder, like it was. One of them closed the binder, handed it to the next one, who put the binder under the table, handed it to the third one, who stuck it under their chair. And then I said, now let's discuss eating the meat. And I mean, we went over this, and I just said these are fantastic reports. It's obvious that none of your employees saw any of this happen. You keep saying you got reports. Who'd you get reports from? Well, there were other players. I said, you're talking about the lacrosse team, right? You know, the lacrosse team that harassed us all weekend. Those are the people you're talking about, right? So nobody from your office saw this, you know, and that makes sense because these are fantastical. I mean, one of the reports you have in here is a gentleman in a hotel room had 10 guys wearing strap-ons running a train on him. How does that make sense? Why would they have strap-ons? And then I glared at the con chair. And I said, let's talk about eating the meat. You had a report that this happened in the lobby on Saturday night. I am familiar with your venue. They're like, well, if you see the setup, I'm like, I was here. You know, here's your check-in desk, here's the lobby, here's the bar. It is directly between two places your employees are stationed. Yeah. And yet none of your employees reported this happening? You had to wait for somebody from another group to come down Sunday morning and tell you this occurred. Your front desk clerk didn't see it. Nobody on your staff saw it. What's the likelihood of it happening? The food and beverage manager, who at that point did not like me anymore,
very much so,
said, well, one of my bartenders said they saw it happening. I said, if your bartender saw two guys blowing each other in the lobby and didn't say anything, that's an employee issue. It actually really became clear what they were trying to do was renegotiate the contract. They wanted a more favorable contract for them. And they were using those reports that they got from people who were making these rumors in there to try to get that favorable contract. Try to say, well, you breached your prior contract, so we're going to renegotiate it now and give you stricter terms or charge you more money or not give you as much. The end result of that meeting was indeed they got a new contract.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we first came in, I thought we had the greatest contract ever. I've been working with hotels in a professional sense for years. I knew all the tricks. It really helped. And then this man came in. In this new contract, First Square did not pay for convention space. We bought food and beverage, we showed up, and we screwed around. It was the greatest 3-year contract in existence. At the end of those 3 years, we would like to have another meeting. Just you and me. Just me and you, Dan. Let's do that. I'm yeah, not a problem. I'll call Boozy.
The point of that is, sometimes the stuff that you're doing at a convention is not the reason we have the horror story. We look at them like this is normal con crap. Sometimes it is the outside party who may see you, I don't know, maybe a little exhausted from the rave, in a fursuit, going back to your room, you stumble a few times, and it goes from tired person who danced in carpet, stumbles on way to room, to sex fiend got drunk at orgy, passed out in the hallway.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. No, I keep pushing it.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Des?
Yeah.
Oh, let's see.
I'm great at segues.
Well, in that case, tell us the story.
How about, you know what? Why don't we do radio calls?
We do a little segment called out of context radio calls. At a lot of conventions, we have what's called a hot mic and a cold mic. A cold mic is when you have an earpiece in, doesn't matter what anyone says, staff, board, they're the ones who hear it. And then there's the open mic. Open mic is when you have a microphone or a walkie-talkie on your lapel, on your belt, and just it can blast out around you. And sometimes people say stupid things on those radios. Very stupid things. Des?
One of my favorites will always be at Motor City FairCon.
Yep.
Back when they were at the Sheraton Hotel. And all of a sudden, just sitting around in operations, taking a quick breather, and we hear come over on all the radios, should we do anything about the people juggling fire on the back patio? And I just slowly turned to glance at our head of legal, who was sitting across from me, who just slowly reaches up and goes, this is head of legal going off radio, and walks out of the room. Like, nope, he just noped out of there.
This is F&B to operations. Did anyone put out our fire?
This is con chair to F&B. Did you mean the barbecue?
Yes, it did.
Please refer to it as the barbecue.
Same convention, different department. This is con store to operations. Do you guys have any more poppers?
Con store? Do you mean the novelty popping discs that we have for sale?
Yes, I do.
Please refer to them as novelty popping discs.
I'm going to do the radio call, and you are going to tell the story of what happened.
Okay.
This is security to operations. Did anyone approve the bounce castle located back of house behind the stage in main events?
I actually didn't find out about this till even later than you.
Operations?
No.
Oh, I thought you were with me. Okay.
No, I saw the picture. They've seen the picture. It's been up on the screen here most of the convention. So, for those of you who don't know, there is a list you have to go by when you apply for the event insurance when you have an event like this. We've learned things over the years, like how much it costs to race Ferraris. But anyway, one of the little check boxes is, will you have a bounce house, bounce castle, something
Bounce castle
of that?
or trampoline, specifically.
Yes. If you check that box, it quadruples your event insurance, because the odds of people getting hurt on that are a lot higher than just, say, flailing about at the dance. And of course, we always go, no, we don't want to pay for that event insurance at that level. We will not check the bounce castle box. And then it happened. One of the staff members decided, well, it'll be okay if we keep it hidden backstage behind main events. It'll be fun for the staff to bounce on the illegal bounce castle back there.
Illegal bouncy houses.
Illegal bouncy houses, man.
Like, go on in, man. Take a load off, jump a couple times, smoke a little crack.
The air is fine.
But yeah, no, like if the insurance were to find out that was here, it would void the insurance contract and anything that they would have to pay for that entire
Correct.
event. So that's why we don't have them unless we specifically check that box. And we don't check that box because it costs too much.
So when this radio call came over, and I was sitting in operations with some of the board discussing something else, and I hear that, they got to see something that only the closest people to me get to see. Because like I said, the board has one real job: make sure the convention happens next year. And from that moment, I knew that if anything happened at this convention and the insurance company found out, that it was over. I actually knew that we could lose the convention, and they saw me get angry. I ran over here. My fat ass ran. I went into the back of the house ready to make heads roll. And what do I see? The person who set it up had invited like 8 children from the convention to go bounce around. Their parents standing there, oh so happy, like, you are such wonderful people. Please leave. Please get out of the bounce. Why? What's wrong? I have to deflate a bounce house. You need to go now. And Nikki comes walking in right afterwards and tells the offending person, you might want to listen. He just spilled tequila and that was horrifying.
I just want to point out the image of this. You, wearing all black and a top hat, came bursting through a curtain backstage to scream that children must get out of a bounce house before deflating it before their eyes. You are a Charles Dickens villain at this point.
This was back when you were clean shaven. Like you could have driven like drawn a mustache on you. Like,
get those urchins out of the bouncy.
Deflate the bouncy castle.
Give me my knife. This con, I don't know why, but Alkaline telling that reminded me of your Nerf war waivers.
Oh my God.
Never invite lawyers to things. I came in here one year, and in this very room, they were going to have a Nerf war. And as I'm walking in, I was walking in to say hi to AV or something. As I was walking in, they say, you have to sign this waiver. It's a liability waiver. And I said, okay, first of all, I'm not participating in the Nerf war. Second of all, I don't sign anything without reading it, so let me look at it. And I looked at it. And I said, sure, I'll sign this. I signed it, handed it over. I said, do you have another one? And they gave me another one. And I took it, and then I walked over, I put it up against the wall, and I reached into my shirt pocket, I pulled out a red pen. And I started making marks on it, and then I left. I went to ConOps, so I walked in, I showed them the waiver. I said, so I just read your liability waiver. And they said, oh, I said, yeah, it's a few things. Number one, you can't waive death. No. So number two, I signed it with no problem. And they said, oh, well, that means it's pretty good, right? I said, no, it means it says, I will not hold Indy FurCon liable for anything that occurs to me, any injury that occurs to me in Indy FurCon 2014 or something. And I'm like, it ain't 2014. This waiver's great if I'm waiving an injury from 3 years ago.
You can blame me for that one. That was my bad.
So I'm doing it lighthearted in ConOps, right? Like I'm joking with them, but I bring that up, and then I see 2 or 3 people in ConOps, and they look at it, and their eyes got wide, and one of them turned around and just went, shh. And then 3 different people walk out and walk over here, and I find out they've come in here to stop the Nerf war, to make everybody go back up to the table, cross out the incorrect year, write in the correct year, and initial beside it before proceeding, because I walked into ConOps and said, hey, your liability waiver doesn't cover shit.
Fair enough.
I never got paid for that either. Like, I caught your fuck up. Nobody.
I'll give you some Nerf darts.
Just throw them at me. You all haven't given me a liability waiver for this year.
Uh-oh. Sometimes convention horror stories don't just happen at FurCons. Sometimes they happen at other events that we run. A very long time ago, I used to run a campsite. Woo! This campsite, we used to hold music events. It was right near Northern Illinois University. It was a very fun time for us because we got to experience all the music that these guys would put on. We'd throw on decent size events. 100, 200 people would show up to this place. We'd set up the stage. They'd throw an event. We'd tear it down. It was really nice. All of us, we were a LARPing crew that owned the site. So we would get together and we would be security and staff. We'd take the money at the door, we'd help out, and then they'd leave and we'd do the final cleaning, sometimes with their help, until what was presented to us as electronica music, but was actually a just The entire place was a rave. People had lights inside their tents. It looked like little dome houses with people trying to have seizures inside of them all over the place. The guy watching the door, his name was Bill. Bill was like, he looked like if somebody my size ate boozy. That is Bill. Bill is an amazing person, and Bill is sitting at the door taking money until this woman walks up and goes, I can't afford to get in, and lifts up her shirt. Just showing him off. Is that good enough? And Bill goes, mine are better, and lifts up his shirt, and she leaves. I love Bill. That was the first of many incidents that happened that weekend. Of many incidents. We had a shed where I kept all of my pyrotechnics in for the LARP. We're talking about large aerial mortars. I used to be a pyrotechnic. It was broken into. How was it broken into? With the hammer that was stolen from our barn, which was also broken into. How was that broken into? We suck at locking things. My bad. So they have pyrotechnics that have gone missing. Supplies from my barn that have gone missing. All the toilet paper, industrial toilet paper rolls have gone missing. And the final straw was when the canoe that sits behind my barn has gone missing. We are no longer happy with this event. This is getting obscene. Myself and Steve, the gentleman helping me at the time, we are on wide alert. Everyone has been transferred over from any kind of help to security, and we are walking the premises. We find 2 youths, and I really mean youths, under the legal age, walking around with Tupperware, with their mother's name written on it, filled with magic mushrooms that they are selling, according to them, for their brother, who lent them their car to go to this thing. As long as they sold his mushrooms, well, I confiscated that and had a great month, but that's not part of the story. This is the entire night. We are going crazy. At one point, we have a golf cart, an old gas-powered golf cart. Myself and Steve have taken the golf cart to the far corners of our campsite because 2 of the campers have decided, well, we can't afford firewood, but this picnic table is wooden. Excellent. Not okay. We are standing there talking to them when from behind me I hear, it was our golf cart. Somebody has taken the golf cart. Now, I will run for insurance problems, but I'm sure as hell not chasing down a golf cart. Not Steve, though. Golf cart. Steve. Okay, then. I make the long walk back to our version of operations, a large trailer filled with LARPing costumes and fake swords, to find my security team strapping on the fake swords going, they're stoned enough, this might work. Everything is dying down, it's getting quieter. We haven't had an incident in an hour. We've started the fire outside of operations. There's 20 of us. Sitting around in a circle, kind of quiet, because we had shrooms, and we're just watching the fire. And then the lake explodes. Because you see, here's what happens. If you steal all of my toilet paper, put it in the bottom of a canoe that you stole, take the gas from a gas-powered cart, cover the toilet paper in gas, take my pyrotechnics, lay them down inside the canoe, and take a yellow cord, a fuse, take the canoe, push it out into the lake, and then light the yellow cord. Not a lot of you are responding to the fact that some of you do know. Allow me to ask you a question. Who knows the difference between a fuse and a quick burn fuse? They didn't. They were standing on the shore when they learned the difference, learned why you never light a yellow fuse, because while they were standing there, a fuse specifically made to light multiple things at once. A fuse that can move 10 feet in just a second. Canoe. To this day, on that campsite, there is a very, very old tree. And sticking out of that tree, embedded deep, is a piece of canoe about this big. When you find yourself having downtime, when you are bored at a convention, when you don't know what to do, go volunteer. Go join staff. Because at the end of the day, you will be rewarded so much for doing it. With new friends, with a sense of purpose, and with stories that'll last so long that I can still go to that campsite and find my little piece of deathwood and go, well, you know what? I got to see a lake explode. Thank you guys very much. This has been Convention War Stories. Give it up for Lord Bandaz, the Boozy Badger. My name is Alkali. Thank you very much and good night. Thank you, AV. I got it on time for once.
Silver Gato Man, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gato Man, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gato Man, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.